It was a quiet Sunday afternoon in Denver when my phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Anna, I have something to tell you. Call me when you can." Immediately, my stomach flipped. My mother, Margaret Carter, wasn't the type to be mysterious. She was straightforward, always the kind of woman to say what was on her mind without hesitation. So a vague text like that felt unusual. I called right away. "Hi, Mom, what's going on?" There was a pause, the kind of pause where you can almost hear the other person choosing their words carefully. Then she said, "Honey, I've been seeing someone." For a moment, I didn't respond. My parents had divorced 10 years ago, and though my mom had gone on the occasional date, she'd never been serious about anyone. She had poured herself into work, into our family, into being the steady anchor I needed through my own ups and downs. "You've been dating?" I finally asked. "Yes," she said gently. "His name is David, and I'd like you to meet him." I should explain, I'm 25 years old, independent, with my own apartment and a decent job as a copywriter. But when it came to my mom, I still felt like her protector. After the divorce, I'd watched her cry late at night, watched her hold everything together for me when I knew she was hurting. So the idea of someone new stepping into her life filled me with skepticism. "What's he like?" I asked cautiously. Mom chuckled. "Why don't you meet him and find out?" That only made me more nervous. The following Saturday, Mom invited me over for dinner. "David will be here around 6, she said. I spent the whole day worrying. What if he was too young, trying to act like some sort of replacement father? What if he was flashy, shallow, just looking for someone to take care of him? By the time I pulled up to Mom's house, my stomach was in knots. The moment I walked in, the smell of roasted chicken and fresh herbs filled the air. Mom greeted me with her usual warm hug. "Relax," she whispered as though she could read my mind. "Just give him a chance." At exactly 6 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I stood by the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, ready to analyze every detail. Mom opened the door, and there he was. David. He was tall, maybe late 50s, with kind blue eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. His hair was silver, but instead of trying to hide it, he seemed to wear it proudly. He carried a bottle of wine in one hand and a bouquet of daisies in the other. "For you," he said to my mom, handing her the flowers. Then he turned to me. "And you must be Anna. Your mom talks about you all the time. It's nice to finally meet you." His voice was warm, steady, the kind of voice that immediately puts you at ease. I blinked. This wasn't what I had expected. Not at all. Dinner was surprisingly enjoyable. David was funny, telling stories about his job as a civil engineer and the travels he'd taken for work. He asked me questions about my career, my hobbies, my goals, and he actually listened to my answers. At one point, when I mentioned my love for writing short stories, his eyes lit up. "That's incredible. Do you ever share them?" I shrugged. "Not really. Just personal stuff." "You should," he said. "The world needs more storytellers." It wasn't the kind of generic compliment people give. He meant it. I caught myself smiling despite my best effort to stay guarded. After dinner, Mom went inside to prepare dessert, leaving David and me in the backyard under the twinkle lights she'd strung across the fence. I decided it was time to be blunt. "So, what are your intentions with my mom?" I asked, half joking but half serious. David chuckled, not offended in the least. "Fair question. I care about her deeply. She's an extraordinary woman. I don't want to replace anything or anyone in her life. I just want to be part of it." His honesty caught me off guard. He didn't try too hard, didn't use fancy words. Just straightforward sincerity. Over the next few weeks, I saw more of David. He came with us to a farmer's market, where he carried all the heavy bags without being asked. He joined us for movie night, and when Mom fell asleep halfway through, he stayed up talking with me about everything from books to baseball. One evening, when my car broke down on my way home from work, guess who showed up with jumper cables and a calm smile? "Relax," he said, tightening the clamps. "Cars act up. It's not the end of the world." And just like that, he had my car running again. It was hard to ignore how dependable he was. But the biggest surprise wasn't David himself. It was the way he made my mother glow. I hadn't seen her this happy in years. She hummed while cooking. She laughed more. She started wearing brighter colors. As though rediscovering a side of herself she'd tucked away. One afternoon, I found her gardening in the backyard, singing softly to herself. "You're happier," I said. She looked up, her face radiant. "I am. David reminds me that it's never too late to start again." And that's when I realized my skepticism wasn't really about David. It was about my own fear of change. The true test came at Thanksgiving. Mom invited David to our big family dinner, where my aunts, uncles, and cousins all gathered. I watched nervously, waiting to see if he'd stumble under the weight of so many curious eyes. But David fit right in. He carved the turkey like a pro, told jokes that had my cousins in stitches, and even helped my grandmother fix a wobbly chair. By the end of the night, half the family was asking when they'd see him again. As I watched, I realized something. He wasn't just winning them over. He had already won me over too. Later that evening, as we packed up leftovers, I pulled David aside. "I'll admit," I said, "when Mom first told me about you, I was skeptical. Protective, maybe. But you've proven me wrong. You're good for her. And for that, I'm grateful." David smiled, his eyes kind. "Thank you, Anna. That means more than you know." And in that moment, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It's been a year since that first dinner. Mom and David are still together, and their relationship has only grown stronger. The surprise wasn't just that I liked him. The surprise was how much he taught me, about second chances, about resilience, about letting people in even when you're afraid. When I first heard about my mother's new boyfriend, I braced myself for disappointment. But what I found instead was hope. And sometimes life's biggest surprises come not from the people we choose, but from the people who choose us.